Hello everyone, this is part 9 of What If Naruto was in Sword Art Online, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
General Governor Office. Sinan has just come in the General Governor Office. Then she noticed there was a crowd gathering ahead of her. She decided to walk to the crowd to find out. When she was near, she looked at the target and narrowed her eyes at the figure. The figure in front of her was none other than Shin. But she noticed something felt different about him. Also, she felt somewhat happy when looking at him. She shook her head out of that thought and approached Shin. Shin looked at Sinan, as she approaching him. Sinan stopped in front of him and pointed her finger at his face. Today I won't lose. Neither will I. You have changed a little. You seems like you are complete now, said Shin. Then he narrows his eyes and analyze her. Sinan smirked at that and said, I am not the girl you know anymore. I've become much stronger. Thanks to you, she added as afterthought. Time skip. At the table, Shin sat in his seat and began to think. Death Gun showed up after the second bob. Both times, the murders occurred where others could see them. Before that, he probably worked on leveling up his avatar, so he wouldn't stand out. And of course, Death Gun was just a nickname he created to prove his action, not actually his avatar's name. What I need to do now is to find his avatar's name. Bob is the perfect stage for him to kill me, then prove his power to the rest of the people. I'll find his avatar name and kill him. He looked at the time and decided to go to the panel terminal to register to the tournament. Scene change. Shin went to the panel terminal, then he blinked when he noticed Sinan was there. He went to the one that near her. After the registration, he decided to talk to Sinan. Sinan-sama. Sinan still ignored him. Sinan Ajusama. Sinan has a tick appeared in her forehead, then she turned to Shin and asked annoyed. What? I already greeted you. What else do you want? Shin scratched his head nervously and said, well, I think it will be very wonderful if we could exchange informations. Sinan just looked at him with apathetic eyes. Well, actually it will be very useful for me, said Shin nervously fidgeting. Sinan looked at him with the same expression for a while, then she sighed and said, it can't be helped. I will give you the second lecture, so try to remember everything. With that, Sinan walked away from Shin. That wasn't my intention. Entirely. Shin decided to catch up to Sinan. Starter area. Shin went in and began to look in wonder. There were so many people there. Wow. Never knew there will be so many people here. The main tournament is always like a big party, said Sinan standing next to Shin. Sinan and Shin walked ahead while the crowd discusses to themselves who is the candidate to the winner of Bob this time, as Zexseed is no more. Then the same American soldier player noticed Shin walked past him and exclaimed. Hey, isn't that Shin-san? Yeah, it's definitely him. What a fearsome guy, he didn't even has a scratch on the qualifying round. Yeah, also he is the wielder of the Hades. Shin just sighed loudly at all the attention. While Sinan glanced back from the corner of her eyes at him and smirked. Seems someone has become too popular, huh? Suddenly, he bumped to someone while deep in thought. He looked at the person and decided to apologize. The person saw who he bumped into and freaked out. I am very sorry, Shin-sama, shouted the person in fright and bowed his head lowly. Shin just walked past them, then he decided to stop and slowly turn to the person he bumped into. The person gulped loudly and wait for the worst to come. You bet all your money on me, and when I win this tournament we will share, said Shin grinning widely and pointed at the person. The crowd just blinked owlishly at Shin's behavior. Sinan just sighed loudly and held to her temple and muttered. You are such an idiot. Scene change. Shin and Sinan sitting at the table sipping the drinks. After Sinan had explained the information about the main tournament, Shin decided to ask her again to be sure. So there will be 30 players that will be randomly placed on the same map. Then all 30 will fight each other until only one left, that will be the winner. Am I right so far? Well, yeah, all the 30 players will be placed on the same map. The starting locations are random, but you'll be at least 1,000 meters from the other players. Oh, 1,000 meters. The map is that huge? Asked Shin in bewilderment. What did you expect? We are playing the shooting game after all. The main tournament's map is 10 kilometers in diameter. It has mountains, forests and deserts. The stage also starts in the afternoon, so no one has advantage or disadvantage due to equipment or stat type, explained Sinan. Can even find someone in such a huge place, I wonder, muttered Shin, putting his knuckle beneath his chin. You are shooting at each other with guns. So it needs to be that big. Also, the participants automatically receive an item called a satellite scan terminal, said Sinan. Satellite. I've read about something like on the web, muttered Shin. It's a spy satellite that will pass over the stage every 15 minutes. Then it transmits all the location informations of each player on the map to the terminal, explained Sinan. So it means you can only hide in one place for 15 minutes? Asked Shin. That's right, but didn't this put a disadvantage on sniper like you? Asked Shin. Sinan just smirked and said, 15 minutes is enough for me to kill the target and leave the place. Is that so? Well, if that's all that you want to know, then I will be on my way. The next time I find you, said Sinan, and was about to stand up, but Shin in panic didn't want her to leave just yet, embraced her to the waist from behind. Sinan blushed bright red and slapped Shin on the face and shouted, What the heck do you think you are doing? Shin received a slap, stumbled a little, then rubbed his face, where Sinan has slapped, and said, Sorry, I didn't mean to grab you like that. It's just I still need your help with something. Sinan recovered from her blush, then sat down and turned to Shin with annoyed expression. So what else do you want to ask me? Shin looked at her for a while, then decided to ask. This may seem strange, but how many players participating in Bob for the first time have names you don't recognize? Sinan was surprised at the question. What are you talking about? Please, tell me. This is important, pleaded Shin. Well, it's only names, so I don't mind to tell you, said Sinan. Other than a certain annoying sword wielder that's sitting next to me. There are only 3 new players, said Sinan, and rolling her eyes, while Shin's sweat dropped and laughed nervously. 3. Can you tell me the names? Asked Shin hurriedly and moved closer to Sinan. Sinan tried to suppress the blush that was about to reveal. Then she opened the list of the participants. There is Gunner X, then Pale Rider. Oh, and this Staben is also new, said Sinan, showing the 3 names, that Shin suspects that one of them is Death Gun. So mind to tell me. Why do you suddenly interest in those names? Asked Sinan. Shin is hesitating to tell Sinan about his past with Death Gun. He just played with his cup by turning it around. Sinan began to gain a tick mark on her forehead. What? Do you want to tell me or not? Your behavior really pissed me off. Or is this actually your strategy to piss me off, huh? Asked Sinan with irritating voice. And no, I didn't mean anything like that. It's just, answered Shin, and waving his arms in deny. Is it a reason that you tell me at the final of qualifying round and when you meet that skeleton masked guy? Deduced Sinan and looked at Shin. Shin sighed loudly and nodded his head. Yeah, you know that I told you that I was the survivor of Sao, right? What you don't know is that, except me, there is a red guild that enjoyed to kill off the other players. In order to stop that madness, I decided to hunt them down. In the end, the whole guild was destroyed, but 10 members managed to escape. Then one fateful day, I accidentally met them. After that, the battle started. I managed to kill 7 of them, but because I had become softer, the 3 others managed to escape. And one of the 3 is known here as Death Gun. Also, he wanted a revenge against me. Then Shin clutched his fist tightly and said solemnly, Zexeed, Tarako, Maelstrom, those people wouldn't have died if I killed those remaining 3. But I became too soft. That's the price of the lives of those 3. That's why I didn't want you to get involved, Shino-chan. This is my battle alone, Shin said, then looking at Sinan with solemn expression. Sinan looked at Shin's solemn expression and wanted to comfort him, to say that's not his fault, but she couldn't do it for some reason. Maybe because the tournament was about to start and she didn't want to feel even more attached to him than she is now. This time I will definitely correct my past mistake. This time I will end things with my past once and for all, said Shin seriously, then stood up and about to walk away. Oh, here you are, Shin-san. And Hecate too, said Mana, approaching their table. What are doing here, Mana? Asked Sinan, raising her eyebrow. I came here to tell you guys that I will be the winner of this tournament. And I hope you guys can withstand until the time we battle each other, said Mana, smirking. I don't have any attention to lose to you, Mana. I need to settle things with that annoying sword master, so I can't lose to anyone, declared Sinan looking at Shun with narrow eyes. We will see about that. Well, I'll head to the standby area now, said Mana and began to walk away. Sinan turned to Shin and said, we also need to go. Shin nodded his head and they walked to the direction that Mana has left. On the lift, Shin was standing before Sinan and looked ahead at the door in front of him. Sinan was silent for a while. When the lift nearly arrived at the place, she went behind Shin, make a gun with her hand and pointed at Shin's back. I know you have your reason. But my promise with you is a different matter. I won't forgive you, if you were shoot down by anyone or even killed by that death gun. I'll never forgive you, understand? I understand. But you must promise me. Never engage the skeleton mask guy no matter what, said Shin, then turned around and put his hands on her shoulder and looked deeply into her eyes. Sinan looked away when he looked at her so intently. She just nodded her head. Good, said Shin and turned back. The lift arrived at the 20th floor. Sinan and Shin walked out of the lift and went in further. On the center screen was the same reporter on the MMO stream. You battle junkies who love the smell of gun oil and gun smoke, are you ready? Asked the reporter of the MMO stream on the screen. The crowd was busy putting their bets on their favorite. Now let's see who is the toughest player of the hardest VR MMO, GGO is. With that the crowd began to cheer loudly. Also MMO stream will be showing live footage of the battle. The crowd began to cheer even louder. Now, time for the countdown. The players began to tap their weapons to the ground and began to count together with the reporter. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bullet of bullets, start. The crowd began to cheer as louder as they could. Outside the fireworks were shooting rapidly to the sky. Allo, Yggdrasil City. Kirito looked at the screen in front of him. He was about to log out but Asuna suddenly asked. Kirito-kun, you won't watch the tournament with us? No. I have some business outside so I need to log out. I will watch the tournament on the computer though, answered Kirito. Asuna narrowed her eyes at that and asked. Did it have anything to do with Naruto? Kirito just stay silent. Asuna take the silent as yes and said. Alright, Kirito-kun, you can go. But when everything is over I want the full explanation, okay? Kirito nodded his head and logged out. Kazuto's room. Kazuto woke up and went to sit on his computer and began to recall the talk with Naruto the other day. Flashback. Quote. Here is the plan. But first I need you to know the trick that Death Gun used to kill the players through their avatar. The trick is simple. Death Gun is actually not one person but two or even more. He used his mantle to spy on the players on the panel terminal and managed to learn their location. Then he used his Death Gun and shoot at type avatar. IRL his companion wait for Death Gun to shoot with his gun at the victim and injected the drug that stopped the heart, Naruto explained through the phone. Kirito listened carefully and asked. But if the companion of Death Gun is near the victim, can't he just inject the drug in the victim, not really need to wait for Death Gun to shoot from his gun? No, because all the three past victims were shot first, only then their avatar disappeared. I deduced that Death Gun has some kind of agreement with his companions, that they will inject the drug after he shot at the victim. That action pretty much created the illusion like he has signed supernatural power that could kill a person in game, said Naruto. I understand now. So what is that plan of yours? Asked Kirito. I called this Operation Cheating Death. It has 3 phases. First phase, I will kill as many players as I can in order to prove how dangerous I am, thus forcing most of them to stay away from me. Second phase, I will approach Death Gun, then let him shoot at me with his gun. The companion of Death Gun will definitely be at my old house by that time. You will watch both the situation in GGO and in my house. I have put a mini camera at the corner of my house that will transmit everything to your monitor. Agil will hide at the secret room, that was directly under my room. When Death Gun shoot from his gun at me, you will inform for Agil to act and stopped his companion before he could inject the drug into me. With that action I will prove to all the people that Death Gun is mere faker that doesn't have any supernatural power. Thus I will break the fear in the players that participate in the tournament. Final phase, I will kill Death Gun in the tournament. His name we can learn by interrogating his companion. That's the Operation Cheating Death, explained Naruto the whole operation to Kirito. Kirito was speechless at the operation that Naruto has created. Well, I admit that the operation is very effective. But you put too much risk on yourself. What if I was late to inform Agal even a second? You will certainly die, said Kirito. I trust you, Kirito. The operation will succeed and everything will return to normal. I promised, said Naruto. End flashback. Kirito turned on his computer, then opened the MMO stream and the view of Naruto's old house. On the camera, nothing had happened yet. Naruto still lying in his bed with Amusphere on his head. Operation Cheating Death, start, said Kirito and began to observe the tournament. Bob Tournament. Shin's location. Shin looked around and saw that there is still no one around him. He opened the terminal and saw that there were 5 players closest to him. He decided to approach them slowly. Jigen, Kaede, Pancho, Tenkyu, Raiden looked at the terminal and saw one figure was approaching them. They looked at the name and horrified, so they decided to make a temporary alliance in order to defeat Shin. They wait for a while until Shin's figure appeared before them. He was slowly approaching them with Murasame Z0 in his hand. The 5 of them decided to open fire at one. Shin saw the bullets that flying to him very clearly, so he dodges some and deflects some with his sword. Then he charges forward and muttered. First phase, start. With that he charged at Jigen with ridiculous speed and used Ryukansen Chumuji to drill a hole in Jigen's body, killing him. Then he felt a shot from behind and saw Pancho was shooting at him. He jumped up high in the air, then used Ryutsuzan. Zan stabbed Pancho in his forehead, killing him instantly. After that he rushed to the direction of Tenkyu and used Soryusen to cut him in half. Raiden and Kaede were scared of Shin's skill, such they decided to retreat. But Shin used Shukuchi and appeared in front of the in a blink of an eye. Shin charged at Raiden and used Hiten Mugen-Zan to cut and blow the avatar of Raiden away because of the force of the attack. Kaede decided to take out a grenade to throw at Shin, but he was too late as Shin used Hiruzen to shoot the Murasame from its sheath at huge speed and force. This strike forced Kaede to drop the grenade and detonate himself. Shin turned back when the grenade exploded. He has the same cold expression when he was Hitokiri Batasai. With Mana, Mana hides herself at the top of the tree and shot at the player to his head using a silencer. She decided to turn on the terminal to check how many players left. She was very surprised when 5 players are already out of the game. Who the heck can kill 5 people in such a short amount of time? It can only be Shin-san. Mana's eyes widen in realization. With Sinan. Sinan was hiding in the bush not far from the mountain location. She is trying to snipe the player that ahead of her. But because he moved constantly, she couldn't aim properly to shoot at him. Then she looked through the scope and noticed the mini grenade on his hip. She shot at the grenade at his hip, thus detonating it, killing the player as well. Bingo. Standby area. The crowd began to cheer loudly as they watched the battles. Some looked at the screen of Shin's battle and was astonished. What the heck? He alone took out 5 person at the same time. Is he some kind of monster or something? Asked a random player. Some players though recognized those moves that Shin has performed and began to shake. Those moves. In the whole VR MMO history only one person can move like that. Hitokiri Batasai is in GGO. Stuttered the person with wide eyes. And just that the crowd began to murmur about the reappearance of Hitokiri Batasai in GGO. With Sinan. After defeating the player, Sinan decided to take a break under the huge tree and check out the terminal. 18 players remained. Looks like Dine is being chased. Richie's on standby and wait for anyone to go near him to shoot him down with a heavy machine gun. So he won't move. Mana is doing a perfect job as always. She may find put where I was soon enough. It's better to go after Dine and Pale Rider. I wonder if Naruto is alright. Then she widened her eyes and then shook her head. Why the heck am I even worry about him? He is my main target in this tournament. I don't care what happened to that jerk. Yeah, not a bit. Sinan tried to convince herself. She turned off the terminal and decided to go where Dine is right now. With Dine. Dine is running away from Pale Rider. He is sweat dropping nervously as Pale Rider has pursued him for a while now. What's with that guy? Then he looked ahead and saw a bridge in front of him. He ran to the other side, then lied down and prepared to shoot Pale Rider when he appears. Now, come out, then I will pump you with holes, said Dine looking at his scope. What he don't know is that far behind him, Sinan was aiming at his head with Hecate. You should always check your 6-9, said Sinan. She was about to press on the trigger. Suddenly she felt a presence behind her. She decided to take out her gun from the back and shouted. Who's there? Shin quickly disarmed her and pressed his body on hers. Sinan was surprised at the person atop of her. Shush. Don't move. I want to watch this battle. Don't interfere unless necessary, said Shin. Looked down at her. Ha. Why the heck should I listen to you? You are my main target, you know, replied Sinan. Please, be silent. I don't want for them to find out our location. It's really important to me. I need to check if my deduction was right or not. For that I will need to watch this battle, pleaded Shin, looking deep into her eyes. That gaze makes Sinan to watch a way to suppress her blush from such intense gaze. Oh okay, but when it all ends I want you to battle me seriously. I don't want to win against you by shooting at your back. That I won't satisfy me at all. I want to battle you fair and square, said Sinan, narrowing her eyes at Shin. Shin nodded his head, then he lied down next to Sinan and took the binocular to watch the battle. Sinan lost the warmth of Shin's body and felt a little disappointed. Then she looked into her scope to look at the battle as well. If he tries to move, I will shoot him down first, warned Sinan. Fine. Shin looked in his binocular and noticed there is one figure in white military uniform with some kind of helmet on his head. In his hand is a hunter gun. He is walking calmly to Dine's location. Dine looked at the figure that calmly approaching him and felt enraged. He decided to open fire at Pale Rider. Pale Rider used a wheel movement and dodged all the shots. Then he did some acrobatic move to dodge the bullets continuously. He moves like that of a monkey and moves really fast. Dine was cursing and tried to shoot at Pale Rider, but all in vain. This person is very strong. He used the lighter equipments on purpose so that it won't hinder his movements. Because his acrobatic skill is very high, he can dodge practically all the shots and continue to move at his opponent, then finish the battle with one shot of his gun, analyzed Sinan while she just looked into the binocular, observed the battle silently. Pale Rider continues to rush like mad while Dine continues to shoot at him. Suddenly, Dine was out of bullets, he decided to recharge hurriedly. But Pale Rider was faster. He shot from his gun at Dine's shoulder, injured him. Dine winced in pain and began to kneel down. Pale Rider pressed his body to Dine's and shot one more. Dine kneeled down to the ground and gritted his teeth. Pale Rider recharged quickly and pointed his gun at Dine's head. Dine only managed to curse before he was shot down to the head. And just that Dine was out of the game. If he had time to swap the magazines, he should have shot down from the hip, said Sinan. The pale dude is ridiculously strong. Was he the one who wore the cape? Wondered Shin with narrowed eyes. I am going to shoot him down now, said Sinan. Okay, but if he really is that person, said Shin. You think that he really can dodge at this range? As far as I know, only you will able to dodge my shot from this range, said Sinan, definitely displeased with the fact. Suddenly, Pale Rider was shot to his shoulder out of nowhere. Shin widened his eyes at that and muttered. Kuso, it's him. He is hiding himself in the invisible mantle that nobody could see or detect him. Simon turned to Shin to ask curiously. Who are you talking about? I don't see anybody near us. Shin turned to Sinan and said seriously. Death gun. He is hiding under his invisible mantle and wait for the chance to shoot a stun bullet. No matter what happened, don't come out. I will handle this situation. Sinan was about to protest, but looking at Shin's serious eyes, she decided to listen to him. Shin looked to the left corner of the bridge and noticed the figure standing there. He gritted his teeth when looked at the skeleton mask with two red glowing eyes of the figure that wore a black metallic cape. So he was there from the very beginning of this battle. And only now decided to show up. But what for? He already knows my identity. So what is he planning? Wondered Shin. Death gun slowly began to approach Pale Rider. The wind blew a little and revealed what is under his cape. Silent Assassin. Wondered Sinan in surprise. So that's the name of that rifle. Yeah, it's a high-level sniper rifle that equipped with a silencer. I heard rumors that it actually existed in GGO, but it's the first time I seeing one. If he can use a weapon like that. Who is he actually? Answered Sinan. Death gun is standing near the Pale Rider. Then he took out the black stat type 54 from his back and pointed Pale Rider. What? He was going to finish him off with a handgun. Wondered Sinan surprised. Death gun began to make some kind of strange praying sign. Shin noticed that and took out his Hades. He changed it to extreme mode, so it could shoot a railgun. I need to act now before too late. Even though it's the first time I use this mode, said Shin, then hold Hades with both hands and pressed on the trigger. The result was a railgun heading to the direction of Death Gun and Pale Rider with great speed. Sinan looked at the shot in shock. After all, it's the first time she saw a railgun was shot in this game. Disappear, said Shin with cold eyes. Allo, Yggdrasil City. Asuna, Lisbeth, Leafa and Silica are sitting on the couch and watch the Bob tournament. Also behind them sitting near the bar is Klein. They looked at the participants list and saw that Shushin is still alive. Oh, I want to see Naruto-kun in action so much. Why didn't he appear on the screen? Leafa whined in disappointment. All the battles are broadcast, aren't they? I am sure Naruto-san will appear soon enough, said Silica. Yeah, if that's about Naruto we are talking about, then he will appear soon enough. Also knowing him, he probably wants a worthy challenge, said Klein. That's right, Naruto is always like that. Oh, here he is, said Asuna, then turned to the screen, where she saw a figure with black cloak and a sheath sword in his hand. Wow, Naruto-kun's avatar is almost as handsome as him IRL. But even in the shooting game, he uses a sword. Typical Naruto-kun, said Lisbeth with a blush, then rolling her eyes when she looked at the Mutasame Z0 in his hand. At that they began to laugh loudly. Then Klein proposed. Well, let's see his battle, okay? They all nodded and turned their attention to the screen. They saw that Naruto slowly walked forward. Suddenly, there were lots of bullets headed to his direction. They saw how Naruto deflected some and avoided some. Whistle asterisk, he is as impressive as always, said Klein with wide eyes. Then they saw Naruto charged forward and used Ryukansen, Chumuji, and drilled a hole in Jigen's body. Then when Pancho shot him from behind, Naruto jumped up in the air and used Ryuchonsen, Zan, and killed Pancho. Then they saw him rushed at Tenkyu and cut him in half with Soryusen. After that he chased after Raiden and Kaid, and then killed them off too. With that Naruto rushed to the other direction and away from the range of the camera. Wow, to take 5 of the players out alone. I know he is strong. But that was just plain ridiculous, muttered Klein in awe. 2-chan will definitely win this tournament, said Wendy sitting on Lisbeth's lap. Yeah, I think so too. After all, Naruto-kun is the best swordsman that I know. The way he dodged the bullets, it's as if he could actually see them, analyzed Leafa. Asuna just looked at the battle silently and began to think. Why did he decide to show himself? He could actually hide from the camera. Why did he decide to fight when the camera is broadcasting? He is trying to prove something to someone. But what? Then Lisbeth looked back at the screen and whistled. Wow, look at this person. He is pretty strong too, said Lisbeth, zoomed in the image of Pale Rider when he was fighting Dine. They saw he rushed at Dine, then shoot him in the head, killing him. They all watched in awe. Amazing, he may be rival to Naruto-san in terms of skill, said Silica. No way. Naruto-kun is far better than him. But I won't deny that he can also a candidate for the winner, said Lisbeth with confidence. Suddenly, Pale Rider was shot in the shoulder from out of nowhere. They all looked surprised at that. Hey, that didn't fair, complained Klein. Wait, he is not out of it yet, said Lisbeth and zoomed in the screen to show a glowing bullet sticking in the right shoulder of Rider. What's that? Wondered Silica. Probably a bullet that stunned the target for a certain amount of them, answered Yui. It's like the wind spell Thunder Web in Aloe, said Leafa looking at the screen. Suddenly, the screen became a little static. Lisbeth decided to change to corner of the camera's view. The camera showed the image of the skeleton mask figure in a metallic black cape with a rifle behind his back. They looked at the figure nervously. But Asuna felt that she knew him from somewhere. Kazuto's room. Kazuto watched the tournament and the situation in Naruto's house at the same time. So far nothing happened yet. He saw how easily Naruto defeated 5 players and felt impressed. When the screen showed the face of Death Gun, he felt an unknown familiar feeling. I definitely know him. But where? Wait, maybe he was there when we decided to wipe out Laughing Coffin. If I remembered right, then he was the first one that engaged with me in that battle, recalled Kazuto and turned his head to the screen where showed the view of Naruto's location. Bob tournament. At the bridge, Death Gun was about to shoot Pale Rider from his handgun. Suddenly, he looked to the right and saw a railgun coming to this direction at great speed. He jumped up high in the air to avoid the railgun. Using momentum, he shot from his handgun in mid-air to the chest of Ryder. Ryder was still paralyzed, so he couldn't dodge the shot. But, when he was shot by Death Gun, the effect wore off and he jumped up in the air to dodge the railgun. The railgun hit the ground and created a huge hole where they stood. With Shin and Sinan. Sinan was shocked when the railgun was shot from Hades. She felt even more shocked when both Death Gun and Pale Rider managed to dodge that shot. Kuso, I should have guessed that things won't be so easy, said Shin, gritted his teeth. Back to the bridge. Pale Rider immediately charged at Death Gun with intention to finish him off in one shot. Suddenly, he dropped his gun and began to clutch his chest. Then he slowly kneeled down to the ground helplessly and lied down motionlessly. He clutches his heart and raised his right hand up one last time before his avatar disappeared. With Shin and Sinan. Sinan watched as Pale Rider's avatar suddenly disappeared. What was that? Asked Sinan, looking ahead of her. Shin glared at Death Gun's figure and muttered in anger. Again. That bastard has done it again. And I couldn't stop him. Shin clutched his knuckle tightly. Sinan just looked at him, not understand. Allo. Yggdrasil City. Asuna, Lisbeth, Silica, Leifa, Yui, Wendy and Klein looked at the screen and saw that Pale Rider's avatar had disappeared. They all wondered what the heck is going on. Asuna looked narrowed eyes at Death Gun's figure the whole time. With Death Gun stood before the camera and some steam came out of his skeleton mask. He began to speak. My true name and the true name of this gun is Death Gun. He raised his Death Gun up to the camera and continued. Someday, I will appear before you. Then I will bring true death to you with this gun. I have the power to do that. Do not forget. It isn't over. Nothing is over. It's show time. Then the steam comes out of his mask and his eyes glowing red. After hearing that statement, Asuna said, I definitely met him somewhere. But where? It can only be that time. The time where the clearing party decided to wipe out LC. Suddenly, they heard the sound of glass shattering. They turned around and saw Klein approaching them, in disbelief look on his face. No way. He can't be, muttered Klein in disbelief. So you recognize him as well, Klein-san? Do you know exactly who he is? Asked Asuna, turning to Klein. No, I can't remember his old name. But what I know for certain is that he was one of the 10 survivors of LC when we tried to wipe him out, answered Klein. When Naruto-kun returned after hunting down the Ragu rabbit, he said something about encounter the LC. He said that he managed to kill off 7 of them but 3 managed to escape. I guessed that the skeleton mask dude was one of the 3 survivors, deduced Lisbeth, recalling the moment. Is he the knife user that was their leader? Asked Asuna. No, it wasn't Po. He talks and acts totally different. But the phrase, it's showtime. It's Po's catchphrase, answered Klein. If what Lisbeth-san has told was true, then this dude, one more member and Po are the survivors after the encounter with Naruto. Is this what you try to hide from us, Naruto? Wondered Asuna. With Shin and Sinan. Sinan watched as Shin still grit his teeth in anger. She decided to ask him. Can you explain to me what happened just now? Shin turned his attention to Sinan with a serious expression and said. Pale Rider has just been killed IRL. His heart has stopped beating the moment Death Gun shot from his handgun. No way. Something like that is not possible, stated Sinan with certainty. Of course, not possible. But he is using a trick to kill people from the outside and makes an illusion like he has some supernatural power, said Shin. But that didn't change the fact that he still managed to make people believe that he has the power to kill in this game, continued Shin, punching the ground in frustration. Death Gun has decided to leave the bridge that moment. Shin looked at his leaving figure and saw him disappeared after the bridge and didn't come out. Atch. He probably used his mantle ability to become invisible. Now we won't be able to find him anymore, said Shin, annoyed. Sinan looked through her scope and noticed he didn't come out as well. She decided to take out the terminal to check his name, but Shin's voice interrupted her. It's useless. If he used his mantle ability, then we won't be able to find him on the map. Sinan decided to check anyway and saw that Shin was right. There are only he, she and Dine on the map right now. What? In such a short amount of time and he managed to escape? That's not possible unless, deduced Sinan. No, I know what you are thinking, but no, he didn't hide under the water. He doesn't need to do something like that because of his special mantle. It's allowed him to become invisible so that even the satellite scan won't notice him, said Shin. So what are we gonna do now? Asked Sin and raised her brow. With his special cape, Death Gun could be anywhere, but we still don't know his avatar's name. That's why I am going to confirm whether from the other remaining two, is Death Gun. Guess I will start with Gunner X, analyzed Shin. Then I will go with you. That Death Gun is pretty strong. I don't want you to lose to him before facing me, said Sinan and was about to go, but Shin grabbed her hand and stopped her from moving. Absolutely not. You promised me, remember. He may even kill you if he wants, said Shin. I know I promised you, but if he can kill you for real then I won't want you to die. Shouted Sin and looked at Shin with worry eyes. Shin was surprised. After all, it's the first time that she showed concern about him and not hiding under her sundear self. Then he looked at Sinan and smiled softly. I am very touched of your concern. But I will be fine. I don't want to involve you in my mistake. I told you before, right? This is my battle alone. In Sao, he was a monster that killed off many normal players for fun. But I am no better than him as well. Maybe even worse, cause I killed far more than him. Do you know that I alone destroyed the Orange Guild consist of 80 members? In one night, I destroyed 50 of them. I spared one of them and he gave the title of Hitokiri Batasai, said Shin in nostalgia. Sinan heard his story and decided to embrace him to make him feel better. Shin accepted the embrace and holds her for a while. Someone like that is really playing GGO, wondered Sinan. Suddenly, she recalled the bloody incident in the past. Then she was shaken out from her thoughts by Shin. Are you okay, Shino-chan? Asked Shin in concern. Yeah, I am okay. Just a little surprised. But the way, you haven't told me about his trick yet, answered Sin and shook her head then looked up at Shin. His trick is simple. Death Gun is actually more than just one person. The Death Gun in GGO killed off the players with the help of his companions outside the game. When you saw him prayed, that's just the excuse for him to signal his companion outside and to check the time to perform the trick. When Death Gun will shoot from his handgun. At the same time his companion will inject the drug to stop the heart. Thus creating the illusion that Death Gun is actually managed to kill through an avatar, explained Shin. I understand now. So everything will be okay if he didn't shoot me with his black gun, right? I am with you. I won't take no for the answer, said Sinan and narrowed her eyes. Shin was about to protest, but when he looked at Sinan's eyes he understood that it will be useless to argue with her. Okay, but stay on the distance and try not to let him see you, warned Shin with a heavy sigh. Sinan was about to proceed forward, but Shin suddenly unsheathed his sword and narrowed his. Sinan only now noticed he has a new sword and wondered where did he get it. Shin turned around and used Murasame to deflect the bullets that coming their way. The player that shooting at them saw that all the bullets were deflected and felt shocked. Sinan was in shock as well. I am going to charge in and used a move to stun him. The rest is up to you, Shino-chan, said Shin with a wink and charged forward. The player tried to shoot Shin down, but all proves useless, as Shin continued to get close to him. When he is a certain distance he sheathed his sword back to perform Ryumaisen to create a shock wave that stunned the opponent. Now, said Shin and jumped back high. Sinan lied down and shot from Hecate blew away the opponent. Sinan stood up and watched Shin's back in awe. Shin looked back from the corner of his eyes and said, Let's go, Shino-chan. Sinan nodded her head and proceeded to move. After checking the situation, they decided to the abandoned city, as Death Gun was a sniper and won't stay in the open space for long. Allo, Yggdrasil City. Lisbeth, Silica and Leafa was extremely worried about Naruto after they watched what Death Gun was capable of. Asuna tried to cheer them up as much as she could. In Sao, there was an unwritten rule, that never let HP to reach 0. Because if that happened then you will die for real. But LC has killed hundreds of players. That's why we decided to capture them one day, said Klein. Then Naruto-kun and my brother, said Leafa. Yeah, Kirito was in our party and he fought on the front line. But Naruto was a different matter, after he heard that some players decided to create PK guilds. He dedicated himself to destroy the members and the guild itself. Because of that people began to avoid him like a plague. It wasn't until he alone decided to defeat the final boss to clear the game. Nobody actually knew how he did that, but after that the survivors began to praise him as the hero, said Klein. Kirito-kun had promised me. When everything will be over, he will tell us everything, said Asuna. So Kirito actually know everything and didn't tell us anything. Why is that? Asked Klein frustrated. Probably Naruto-kun told him not to. Naruto-kun is a very kind and thoughtful person after all. He doesn't want to involve in something so dangerous, said Lisbeth and smiled solemnly. That idiot, always wanted to shoulder everything himself. First, so now this, said Klein clearly not pleased. Naruto's room. The figure of Naruto that was still in full dive was lying on the bed. Suddenly, one figure in a hood walked in near his bed. He opened his phone and began to observe the tournament in it. Kazuto's room. Kazuto noticed there was a figure walked in Naruto's room and narrowed his eyes. He glanced back at the view of Bob and saw that the camera was in different place. It seems the second phase was about to start, said Kazuto in a serious voice. Abandoned city. Shin and Sinan has been running for a while, but they can't find Death Gun anywhere. So who do you think is Death Gun from the remaining two? Gunner X or Staben? Asked Shin. I actually have an idea. But May seems too obvious, proposed Sinan. Well, many players' avatar pretty much obvious. For example, my name is short for Shinigami. What about you? Said Shin and asked Sinan. Mine is a name modified. I think it's like this gunner is a gun, while X is the cross symbol is refer to the crossbone that actually means death, said Sinan. Well, let's check either way. We haven't even seen that Staben on the map, not even once. That's suspicious too, deduced Shin brought his knuckle to his chin in thought. I am going to check where Gunner X is, said Sinan and opened the terminal. Also you check from the north. Shin nods his head and began to check the north of the map. They checked all the names on the map. Suddenly, Sinan pressed at the location of the player at the stadium and revealed to be Gunner X. Only Gunner X is on the map now. There's no trace of Staben. So there is a possibility that Gunner X is actually Death Gun. There is one more player not far from us. I think he is after him, said Shin. We need to get to him before he kill Rikoko, said Sinan. Back me up, said Shin and turned ahead to move away. Roger, said Sinan. As she about to move she suddenly stopped when she saw Shin stopped. What else? Asked Sinan. Suddenly Shin turned to her face and kissed her forehead gently. Sinan blushed bright red and stuttered. What the heck are you doing? I won't forgive you for this easily. You pervert. Shin looked at her face, cupped her cheek and said softly. Just feel like to do this. Don't tell me you don't like that kiss. Then he smirked victoriously. Sinan opened her mouth then shut it. She turned her head away and muttered. Just go already. I am going to pay you back for that action. Shin just laughed and ran away to the direction of Gunner X. Sinan looked at his leaving figure and muttered while smiling. What a jerk. Then she followed Shin to the stadium. Not far from stadium, Sinan and Shin were hiding behind the bus. Sinan stepped out and activated her scan skill to search the location of Gunner X. Suddenly, she saw a gun point out from the wall. There he is. He may be still waiting for Rikoko, informed Sinan. Good. I am gonna attack him from behind now. You will stay here to back me up if something unexpected happen, said Shin. But I want to go with you, protested Sinan. It's better for you to stay at the distance. You are a sniper after all. I will feel more safe with you backing me up, said Shin. Then he ran away to the direction of the stadium. Sinan began to run ahead to find a proper place to snipe the target. If I defeat Death Gun, then he will become my enemy once more. I'll shoot him, defeat him. Then forget him. Why I felt that I don't want to forget him, said Sinan and asked herself. She was about to proceed walking forward. Suddenly she was shoved away by someone. She looked at who did that and was surprised that it was Shin. He shoved her away from the stun bullet that stuck to his leg. Quick, get out of here, Sinan. Death Gun is here. Hurry up, shouted Shin, lied on the ground paralyzed with gritted teeth. Sinan was too shocked to say and understand anything. She looked at Shin's paralyzing figure then heard the sound of step that began to get close here. Sinan, get out of here, if you don't want to die, screamed Shin. That statement caused her to snap back and to automatically began to retreat back to the building. That moment Death Gun decided to reveal himself by deactivate his mantle. He slowly began to approach Shin. Shin just glared up at Death Gun from the ground. Finally, I will be able to kill you. After I finish you, I will go after that black swordsman and that woman. I have waited for this moment so long. The moment when I will have my revenge, said Death Gun and began to take out his handgun. Naruto's room. The hood figure slowly took out the syringe of succinylcholine and waited for the signal to inject at Naruto's unconscious figure. With Shin. Shin looked fearfully as Death Gun began to pray and then point his gun at his chest. This is a goodbye. Sayonara, Hitokiri Batasai, said Death Gun. With that sound of shot was heard. Also the camera was flying above broadcasting everything to the people outside. Bob Tournament. Abandoned city. There was a gravely silence and only the sound of wind blowing was heard. Death Gun still pointing his gun after the shot. On the ground, Shin lied motionlessly. His eyes was covered by his hair. At the building, not far from the incident, Sinan looked in shock as Shin lied motionlessly at the ground. Her eyes began to tear up. Naruto! Screamed Sinan horrified. Stand by area. All the players looked horrified as Shin was shot by Death Gun. They still remember the day Death Gun shoots Exceed through the monitor. They all began to shake in fear as one more player has been killed by Death Gun. Allo. Yggdrasil City. Asuna, Lifa, Lisbeth, Silica, Yui, Wendy and Klein looked horrified as Death Gun shot a helpless Shin on the ground. Then they saw Shin's figure went limp. They recalled how Pale Rider was killed the same way. No. Naruto-kun. Shouted Lifa with tears on her eyes. To-chan. Shouted Wendy with wet eyes. Naruto-san. Naruto. Shouted Clean and Asuna at the same time. Lisbeth just watched the scene on the screen with wide disbelieving eyes. She refused to believe what is happening now is real. Suddenly, she felt her knees wobbling and fell to her knees. It can't be true, muttered Lisbeth with empty voice. Bob Tournament. Abandoned city. Death Gun looked down at Shin's motionless figure and said. Finally, I have gotten rid of you. Next, are that black swordsman and that woman. Farewell, Hitokiri Batasai, said Death Gun and turned his back and began to leave. Sinan snapped out of her shock and glared daggers at Death Gun. She charged her Hecate and aimed it at Death Gun's head. She opened fire, but Death Gun sidestepped and dodged the shot with ease. Sinan gritted her teeth in anger and frustration. Death Gun took out his silent assassin and was about to shot Sinan. At the ground, Shin's finger began to move a bit. The moment Death Gun was about to shoot Sinan, Shin opened his eyes and charged at Death Gun from behind. Death Gun felt the movement behind him and turned back to see Shin charged at him with his Hades in hand. Shin began to shoot Death Gun rapidly. Death Gun decided to take cover. Shin put back his Hades to his back, then unsheathed Murasame and jumped high in the air and used Ryukansen, Chumuji to descend fast to Death Gun's location. Death Gun jumped up to avoid the strike. But Shin reacts immediately and uses Ryosausen to strike Death Gun rapidly. It was so unexpected that Death Gun could only raise his Black Star Type 54 to shield himself from the whole damage. But the result is the destruction of his Death Gun. Death Gun saw his gun was destroyed and asked Shin in rage. How the heck are you alive? I shot you with my Death Gun. You should have died. My name is Shin, short for Shinigami. And Shinigami couldn't die, said Shin and smirked. Nice job, Kirito, Agal. Leave the rest to me, thought Shin. Sinan looked at shock and couldn't understood anything. She wondered what the heck is happening here. How the heck is he alive? Didn't Death Gun just shot him with that gun? What is going on here? Wondered Sinan, still shocked that Naruto is still alive. On the other hand, she was extremely glad that Naruto is alive. But she's still curious, how did he survive? Standby area. All players looked at shock as Shin stood up from the ground and engaged Death Gun in a battle once again. He is still alive. I don't understand anything. What is happening here? Asked one player. I also don't understand anything. Maybe if we continue to watch, we may find out, asked the other player. They all nodded and continued to observe the battle. Allo. Yggdrasil City. They all began to scream in happiness when they saw Naruto stood up and began to fight Death Gun. I thought so. There is no way Naruto could let himself get killed so easy. That troublemaker. Make us all worried for nothing. When he return I gonna punish him for that action, said Asuna sighed and smiled in relief. But how did he survive? You saw what happened to that pale dude, right? Asked Klein, not understand anything. Asuna just smiled and looked out. So you guys have done it, Kirito-kun. Kazuto's house. Kazuto sighed in relief seeing Naruto stood up and engaged Death Gun in a battle. That was such a risky plan. But we still managed to pull it off, said Kazuto with a sweat drop from nervousness. He recalled the moment second phase passed. Flashback. 30 seconds after Naruto was shot, Kazuto looked at the screen and saw Death Gun aimed his handgun at Naruto. He waited for the shot to happen and contact Agil, that was in a secret room directly under Naruto's room. Agil appeared just in time to stop the hood figure from injecting succinylcholine to Naruto's heart. But something unexpected happened. The hood figure, after failed injecting the drug, threw some strange device on Naruto's body that stick on his body and won't came off. Agil tried to take it off, but it was no use. It just stuck there no matter what. Agil tried to interrogate the figure that was Shinkawa Kyuji, but he refused to tell anything. End flashback. Kazuto looked back at the screen which displayed the tournament. Be careful, Naruto. I don't know what is that device that is currently stuck on your body, said Kirito with narrowed eyes. Bob tournament. Abandoned city. Death Gun's eyes glowed red and the steam was coming out of his skeleton mask. He stared at Shin and said, "So you managed to figure out my method of killing players through avatars. I should have not underestimated you like that. After all, you are the genius that created the skills transferring system. That trick you use is too simple to deduce. First, you used that special mantle of yours to learn the address of the player. After that, with the combination of your partners, that will sneak in the victim's house, you shot from that gun of yours at the victim in the game. At the same time, your partners will inject the victims with the drug that stopped the heart. Because of that trick, you managed to fool everyone in GGO, that you actually has the supernatural power. Now, that you have lost that gun of yours, you won't be able to kill anyone anymore. Just surrender," said Shin. Looked at Death Gun. At the building not far from them both, Sinan listened to explanation and began to understand how Naruto managed to survive. So that's it. Naruto has known Death Gun's trick and waited for this moment to prove to the people outside that his ability is nothing but a mere trick. With this action, all the fear in the people's hearts would erase themselves. So he is only pretend to be dead, so that he could catch Death Gun of God to destroy his gun, deduced Sinan, nodding her head. Standby area. After hearing Shin's explanation, people began to murmur to themselves. So that was just a trick. And that Death Gun doesn't actually has any power at all, said one player. He has fooled us from the very beginning. That bastard, replied the other player with anger. But that didn't change the fact that he has killed 4 persons already, retorted the other player. It's over now. Shin-san has destroyed his gun. So he can't use the same method anymore. Furthermore, I'd like to see Shin-san kicked his butt, said the other player and looked at the screen to continue to observe the battle. Abandoned city. Death Gun looked at Shin, then he looked down to the ground and his body began to shake. Shin raised his eyebrow in surprise. Then the laugh was heard from Death Gun. The camera that broadcasting the battle has disappeared already. Ha 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 ha. Bravo, Hitokiri Batasai. You managed to not only expose my trick, but also erased the fear in people's hearts. But with that said, who said that you are safe? I told you before, I am gonna kill you in this game. Then Death Gun took the other gun from his back very fast and shot at Shin. Shin was very surprised by what he said and couldn't dodge the bullet in time. Thus the bullet hits his shoulder. Something unexpected happened. Suddenly, Shin felt such intense pain that it's like he could felt IRL. Arg! Shouted Shin with wide eyes and shock. The pain is so intense that he fell to his knees. Shin glared at Death Gun with his knees and asked shakily, what the heck is going on? Death Gun began to laugh even louder and said with glee, well, it wouldn't change anything, so I will tell you. I expected that my phantom bullet plan could failed. That's why I created the second backup plan specifically for you. The moment my partner has failed to inject you with succinylcholine, he managed to do one last thing. He succeeded to 3 the advanced electroshocker to your body. That is a special electroshocker. The moment it stuck to your host, it won't came out until I was defeated. It has the electromagnetic signal that link with your atmosphere and mine. In other words, every time you take damage from me, you will be shock IRL. Didn't it remind you of the time 2 years ago in Aloe, huh? I heard you nearly died that time. But I will make sure that you will die for real this time, said Death Gun and prepared to recharge his gun to shoot at Shin. Shin held to his shoulder with gritted teeth and glared daggers at Death Gun. Shit. I didn't expect for him to have a backup plan. I need to retreat in order to analyze the situation. But it's easy said than done. How the heck am I supposed to escape when Death Gun is right in front of me? Thought Shin with nervous face. Death Gun pointed his handgun at Shin and was about to shoot. Suddenly, he felt a bullet line aiming to his head and looked at the direction where the line came from. On top of the building, Mana lied on the ground with her main weapon, Venus Eradicator 11, pointed at Death Gun. It's Mana's Pactio rifle. Venus Eradicator 11 is the only blaster that can shoot with equal or even greater speed with physical guns. Like the other Roman numeral weapon, it has the extreme mode to shoot railgun. Mana had received this weapon when she hunted the boss of the 80th floor. Mana opened fire with her rifle at Death Gun. The beam coming from the rifle flew with such great speed that Death Gun barely managed to dodge the shot. Seeing he is at disadvantage now, Death Gun decided to use his mantle to disappear from the battlefield. Shin saw Death Gun has gone and breathed out in relief. Then he saw Sinan came out of the building and began to approach him. Mana also jumped down from the building and began to approach Shin. Are you okay, Naruto? Asked Sinan with worried eyes. Yeah, but my shoulder still hurt, answered Shin, rubbing his shoulder. Then Shin turned to Mana and asked. Not that I am not glad that you saved me. But why do you decided to interfere? I warned you about his ability, right? I have arrived here the moment you were shot down. I knew that you can't be taken down so easily, so I decided to observe. Then I saw Death Gun shoot you in the shoulder and saw how you screamed on pain. I decided to interfere as I didn't want you to be taken down by anyone, but me, answered Mana with cool eyes. So what are you going to do now? Each time you take damage from Death Gun you will be electrocuted IRL, said Sinan looking at Shin with serious face. Shino's began to yaw cold like ice that sent shivers down two girls that standing beside him. Something like that won't stop me. I told you guys before, I will kill Death Gun with my own two hands. I will rest for a bit, then I will find him and end him. I have looked in the face of death twice, the third time won't be any different, said Shin and slowly stood up. Sinan looked at him with worried eyes. She felt so terrified the moment Shin was shot. Her heart beat so much faster and she felt so much hated to Death Gun. She wanted to rip him apart for killing Naruto. Naruto has saved her life by shoved her away from the stun bullet. Even though they've met not too long, he still risked his life for hers. Slowly she touched her heart and still feel it beating very fast. It only beat this fast whether she is near Naruto. Then her eyes widen in realization. There is no mistake here. She has fallen in love with Naruto. Asada Shino loves Uzumaki Yuki Naruto. Then she remembered that he already has two girlfriends IRL already. She looked down on the ground dejected. Mana looked at Shin with admirable look. She feels so much respect to Naruto now. Even though his life is in danger, his heart and resolve is unwavering. That's why she want to fight this person so bad. The person that had experienced near-death experience twice, and not afraid to look that face of death one more time. She want to fight him so much now. It won't matter if she win or lose. All she want is to battle Naruto with everything that she got. Well, let's go and find a cave to hide from the satellite scan. But you guys can actually go your ways. Now that Death Gun can't kill anybody anymore, you guys can continue with the tournament. I have a task that I need to fulfill no matter what, said Shin and began to walk away. Wait, I will go with you. There is no way I am leaving you in a condition you are now, said Sinan and went to Shin's side. As Death Gun can no longer kill for real. I'll back you up, Shin-san. I won't integer with you battle with Death Gun. But I want to watch the battle with my own eyes, said Mana looking at Shin. Alright, first need to find a cave to hide from the satellite scan and rest the body. Then we will create the plan of action, said Shin. Then they all began to leave the abandoned city. Naruto's room. Kazuto has arrived at Naruto's old house and walked in his room. There he saw some kind of device stuck to Naruto's unconscious body. Is it what you told me about, Agil? Asked Kazuto walking to Naruto's side. Agil sat on the bed near Naruto, turned his head to Kazuto and answered. Yeah, I can't take it off no matter what. Also there was a moment when that device suddenly electrocutes Naruto. I think that this is the backup plan of Death Gun, answered Agil with narrowed eyes and rubbing his chin in thought. I think it is. So where is the companion? Asked Kazuto. I have knocked him out. He struggled too much and refused to tell anything. He is in the scarf now, answered Agil. Well, let's turn him in the police and log in Alo. I need to explain everything to Asuna. Staying there won't change the situation anymore. Now it's all up to Naruto. We can't help him anymore, except to believe in him, said Kazuto looking at Agel. Yeah, you are right. The final phase is entirely on you, Naruto, said Agel and looked at Naruto's figure. With that they picked up the unconscious body of Shinkawa Kyuji and walked out of the room. Sinan's house. The hood figure saw that Death Gun failed in killing Shin. He looked at Sinan's unconscious figure then walked out of the house. Zaxa, you ashamed to laughing coffin. I will take care of him now, said the hood figure and began to walk away. The wind blowing his jacket and good dramatically. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.